will say is foreign influence over our politics.
No.
And you began, and it's so transparently obvious to everybody.
I'm going to try and look at this as objectively as possible. Tucker is a master at this because he's constantly on the offense without looking like he's on the offense. Ted Cruz doesn't realize it until it's too late.
Okay. The obsession with Israel, when we're talking about foreign countries,
it's hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese, you're not talking about Japanese, you're not talking about the Brits, you're not talking about the French. The question, what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Oh, like I'm an anti-Semite now.
Tucker Carlson is very good at this. It makes him look more relaxed, more in control. Juxtapose that with Ted Cruz, who looks very uneasy.
It's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy, feline way implying it, or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews.
To be fair, you can criticize the government of Israel, and that does not make you anti-Semitic.
There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with the foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews?
You said, I'm asking you.
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's be clear.
It's sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just said, why is that the only question you're asking? You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason why the obsession is Israel.
And now the battle begins.
You asked me why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yep.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which is to defend Israel.
Yes.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel.
Dang, he did turn the tables there. That is a solid logical point.
And shame on you for suggesting otherwise, and I mean that. And that's low, and you know it's low. So why don't you just answer my questions
I'll
in a
answer any
straightforward,
question
rational way? You certainly have the IQ to do it.
So, shame on you is cute, by the way, Tucker.
It is. It's not cute. I'm offended.
I'm
obsessed with the Jews. You just told me
you
that
just called me a sleazy feline.
It is sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite for asking questions about how my government is run.
You want to count how many questions you asked about? What about the Jews? What about Israel? What about AIPAC?
I never asked about the Jews.
What is going on today?
And I'm sort of wondering, like, what is this? This is one of the weirdest conversations I've ever had.
Look at the body language.
You had just told me that, like, your driving motive to get to the Senate was to defend Israel. I'm like, I don't think I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel.
Okay,
so
Tucker, words matter.
When Rupert Murdoch chose Tucker Carlson, the legend is that he would turn the volume all the way down and watch the television and watch body language. And he saw Tucker.
And you played a very, very careful word game of a lie to you.
You're the one who said it.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed.
That's the rationale here?
By the way, I want to give a quick little discussion on the Israel topic. See, when it says Israel's the Holy Land, bless Israel, curse Israel, Israel in the Bible is not referring to a physical place. So Israel, biblically, is all the followers of Christ. For all who are followers of Christ and they put their faith in Christ, they are together, collectively as a whole, the Church of Christ. Therefore, they are Israel. Israel is the people who follow Christ, not an actual place. So you're never actually supposed to defend Israel at the point. You're supposed to defend the Christians. Israel, they spit at you for being Christian, man. They attack you for being Christian. I think I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they bombed Bethlehem in 2023, and they got rid of all the churches in Gaza. That is not an Israel you want to defend. With that being said, it doesn't make it fine to start attacking or anything. But when it says to defend Israel, it's meaning to defend the people that believe in Christ, not actually defend Israel as a location. That's just stupid. Where's the logic in that? You know what I mean? Anyways.
I don't think this is going to go over well.
That's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
Tucker asked these questions with the answer already in his mind.
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis, but...
He's able to provide it, and it just makes them look stupider.
So you're quoting a Bible...
Is stupider even a word? It's been used so often, stupider, that I remember I used to be told it's not a word, but it should be a word. Is stupider a word? I might as well be one. Yes, stupider is a word. Oh, okay, there we go. I was always told it wasn't a word. It must have officially became one. I used to be, I was always told that stupider is not a word. Stupider is not a word. I was like, it just doesn't make sense. Come. Why are we highlighting come?
Phrase you don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker,
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Tucker is a Christian.
where does
I can
my
say.
support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel.
That's the primary reason. There's a lot of secular people out there that they're going to
Commanded to defend your own. Israel is to defend the people of Christ. Not to defend God, because God can defend himself. He makes that very clear.
watch this and be like, what?
We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what, hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding?
Tucker does this thing where he will ask specific examples, anticipating that the other person will not be able to respond. Like,
And that is
You
that is
believe
Israel.
that's what God was talking about
Yes.
in Genesis.
I do, but
That country's existed since when?
that's existed since when? What's the population? What's the demographic makeup?
Oh, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is. So I don't know if we can...
I don't remember the
Sure.
scriptural citation. But okay, I keep
It's like Genesis 16 or something like that. But yes, it's in the earlier part of the book. But the point is,
all right, Tucker, you keep
It's
interrupting
reach
me.
those pieces right now.
it's
Finish my
just
sentence.
important to know what you're talking about.
Tucker can go in and research these things and put those in his pocket as a tool. Then ask those specific questions, knowing he has the answer. And
People living around, by the way,
I don't know the population.
at all.
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek.
So I think this is the trap that it's probably gonna. He's probably gonna start describing where Tucker's asking the questions that only he knows the answers to. Or, based off of the conversation, he's gonna ask the questions that he knows he can confidently answer, as opposed to asking a question that invokes thinking in both ends. You know what I mean? But this is what politics do. They specifically do that on purpose. There's not an actual like, let's try to work this out together. It's just two sides bickering at each other. You know, don't fall for the political stupidity.
To topple?
How many people living around?
92 million.
optically, it's very effective.
Damn, Ted Cruz! Are you a pair of $800 Ferragamo boat shoes? Because Tucker Carlson owned you, buddy.
And that is what you're going to see go viral from this exchange. It's going to be all over X.
How'd you like to see it again?
My teeth are so sensitive.
Relevant whether
Well,
it's
because-
90 million or 80 million or 100 million. Why is
Because
that
if
relevant?
you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
Some would claim this is slightly unfair, but you should probably know this. And once Tucker has him trapped, he's going to return and return and return.
That's another thing too. He's going so Tucker is trying to defend based off of an interpretation that he has of his own of the Bible and what he's been taught as a kid without actually questioning it. I've always said this. I'm always for this as a Christian. It is absolutely okay to question the Bible. If anything, it's best you question it, because if you're taking the things like legit literally, that's bad. Because it also tells you to literally eat your Bible, eat the words. You're not going to actually eat the words, you know. God speaks in idioms. Israel was not really an idiom, but it was more for a contextual approach. Like if you approached it correctly and you saw and read what it meant, it was the people collectively as a whole is the Church of Christ, therefore Israel.
And really get as much out of that mistake as he can.
God tells you to support the modern state of Israel in the Bible, in some place in the Bible that you heard about, but you don't know where it is. That's your theology?
You're going back. Am I a sleazy feline again? I mean,
If you
don't
accuse me of
be so-
anti-Semitism again, I will say that, but I don't think you will.
Try to be a little less condescending. I'm trying to have
Not
a
being
conversation.
condescending. You're throwing this stuff out, and it's my job to figure out what you're talking about.
Okay,
and I don't understand.
But you're not letting me.
Okay. I'm sorry. I want to be polite.
It's like a negotiation. Whoever can walk away from the table the easiest is going to win. Whoever's trying the hardest in an exchange like this looks weaker.
Let me just make this point, and then
Okay.
Then,
And then I'll just ask what you mean. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, Iran, I think the most acute national security threat facing America right now is the threat of a nuclear Iran. I think China is the biggest long-term
Full agreement,
threat, but
yeah.
acute and near-term is a nuclear.
And to add on to that further, people are hating the fact that Trump bombed Iran for having a nuclear arsenal, but they're not even hating for that. They're just finding a reason to hate, and they're trying to twist a reason or create a narrative for why that's bad. But they're just doing it because they don't like Trump. See, Kamala said the same thing. She didn't answer if she would bomb Iran, but she did quite literally say they have a nuclear arsenal and they're the biggest threat to the United States currently. She said this, and I believe in an interview like 8 or 10 months ago. So people are just hating because it's Trump, not because of what he did. It's dumb.
Nuclear Iran.
Okay.
Is the reporting that we're hearing about the nuclear capabilities of Iran accurate? That's the question on everyone's mind. I don't know the answer. That fits into the sponsor of today's video, Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that lets you compare.
I'll go ahead and watch the ad just to give him that
political bias, financial
that extra money.
Behind the
Support the guy. He's a smart guy, smart fellow.
Shaping our lives is the narratives.
He kicked him out for being a teacher, and because he invoked critical thinking in the students rather than having a virtue signaling idea. Because these students were just going based off virtue signaling from other people, and so they would accept that as a generalized idea rather than actually using their own deductive skills and logical reasoning to come to an actual rational
Ground News was designed to give you back control over your thoughts.
thought
That's why they created their
or a
blind
view.
spot feed. One of the most important
And he got
things
fired
to
for
check
that
before
because
trying
he's
to have
teaching these
constructive
students how to
dialogue
actually
with people
think,
who
and that's
different
bad
ways.
because he teaches
Go
students how to
to
actually think. They
ground.news/7
figure out something about the
scan
school,
QR
and
code
they
on the
put two
screen.
and two
Viewers at
together,
top-tier
and they can
vantage
go ahead
point
and
for
do that.
just
So they fired
$5
him.
a month. So it's a
But it seems
handy
he's doing
tool
better off
for
here.
how best to
Although he did
navigate
enjoy
your
being a
stories.
teacher.
That's
I
where
feel bad for the
Ground
guy.
News comes in.
We talked before about Iraq. I opposed the Iraq war. We talked about Syria. I opposed military intervention in Syria. The reason for that is those did not pose a threat to the United States. I think Iran is markedly different.
The counter argument is there are so many other countries that have the same weapons.
I hope this is
Why
loud
are we
enough.
not attacking them if
Let me
that's your
see.
logic?
Number one, the Ayatollah
Could be.
is a religious zealot. He is a lunatic, but a particularly dangerous kind of lunatic because he's driven by religious fervor.
For me, if I'm trying to analyze this, what do I know about the validity of the fanaticism of Iran? There are people that know more about this, so there is an inclination to trust those people.
When he says death to America and death to Israel, I believe him. And I think Iran is trying to get a nuclear weapon because there is a very real possibility they would use a nuclear weapon. So you want to ask, how does supporting Israel benefit us? Right now, this tiny little country, the size of the state of New Jersey, is fighting our enemies for us and taking out their top military leadership and trying to take out their nuclear capacity. That makes America much safer.
If they did have a nuclear weapon, I think it'd be understandable if action was taken.
This is a sidebar, but I just can't resist. The Prime Minister of Israel said that Iran tried to assassinate Donald Trump twice.
What is true is Iran is trying to assassinate Donald J. Trump, and they have hired hitmen. Now, you pointed out...
No, he said that they have tried twice to kill him, and I don't know that, I don't have any evidence that's true, but I sort of wonder if that is true. Why aren't we at war with them already?
It would be good if we could get some evidence of them hiring these hitmen. How do you know that?
You rightly pointed out there's no evidence that this clown in Butler, Pennsylvania, who shot the president was working for the Iranians. I don't think he was. There's no evidence of that. Although I would like to know more about who he was and what's going on. But,
I've never heard about this.
I don't find it plausible that he was working for the Iranians. So, was that caused by the Iranians? No. But what is true, and what your newsletter didn't acknowledge, is it true or false that Iran is currently trying to murder Donald J. Trump and has paid hitmen to do so?
Well, you have to have evidence to be able to make a conclusion like that. How could I possibly begin to even answer that question?
I'm assuming that's Tucker's response.
Is there... Okay, so you're aware of a plot to kill Trump?
Yes. That Iran is paying for. And by the way,
I've never seen this interview.
It has been over the last, I'd say, 18 months to 2 years.
In the United States?
In the United States, yes.
Okay, do you have any evidence?
If there's evidence that Iran paid hitmen to kill Donald Trump and is currently doing that...
I like how
18 months to 2 years.
In the United States?
In the United States, yes.
Okay, do you have...
I like how he's searching this up as he goes. See, this is good. A great teacher, man. Great teacher.
Any evidence?
If there's evidence that Iran paid hitmen to kill Donald Trump and is currently doing that,
it's a crazy statement.
Where's that? Like, what are you even talking? I've never heard that before.
Okay.
Where's the evidence? Who are these people? Why haven't they been arrested? Why are we not at war with Iran?
Yeah,
that's a great question to ask.
How do you know that that's true?
We know that it's true because we have been told that by the military and our intelligence community for the last 2 years.
And I'm not saying this couldn't be possible or that this is not true.
Got to be insider information, if anything.
Such as this, we should see some evidence.
During the Biden administration...
Wait, but hold on. Can we go back to Donald Trump because he's the president? No, it's a big deal. What do you mean?
They're trying to kill the president. It's a pretty big deal, yes.
Attempts on Trump.
Yes.
They've hired...
What was it?
What has been arrested for these assassination attempts on Trump?
Okay.
Yes.
They've hired hitmen. How do we know that?
They did arrest Iranian hitmen at John Bolton's apartment complex who rented, I think, the apartment next to him and were actively trying to assassinate him, and they went and arrested them. So, yes, they caught Iranian hitmen. Now, it so happens Iran's not very good at it.
The article now?
And so they are actively trying. And in fact,
but
during
what
the
about Trump? He's the president. If there's a plot to kill Trump by the Iranians,
okay, so you dispute that the Iranians are trying to kill Trump?
I can't dispute anything that I don't have any evidence for. And rather than give evidence, he goes, so you're disputing that there's an assassination attempt? This is not going well for Ted Cruz.
And I think it's a very fair question, maybe you disagree, to ask, what are you talking about?
Okay, and I agree with you that he misspoke.
So there weren't those 2 attempts?
There were 2 attempts, but the clown in Butler, Pennsylvania, and the other guy on the golf course were not connected to the Iranians.
Yeah.
It feels like Ted Cruz thought he had a line here, a strategy, and it just backfires on him.
Do we know the names of the people or where this happened or what they tried?
That happens often, and I know what he's referring to there. Like, it's whenever you're losing in an argument or somebody's not getting your point, so you throw something out there that makes sense to you, but you haven't really explained it because you never really thought about it. It's just something that you kind of saw, and it made sense. You know what I mean? You didn't do any actual digging. You didn't do any actual looking through due diligence. You just saw it and ran with it. And so it clicked with your previous argument, except your previous argument was either refuted, disputed, disapproved, or not acknowledged because of maybe a lack of evidence or not being able to explain it properly. So whenever you throw something out there like that, like Ted Cruz threw, and how this guy pointed out, it has no backing behind it. There's a word for it, but I forgot the word. But there's no backing behind it. So that's what he's getting at.
Tried to do to kill Trump?
We have not apprehended.
Let me rewind this 10
strategy,
seconds.
And it just backfires on him.
Yeah.
Do we know the names of the people or where this happened or what they tried to do to kill Trump?
We have not apprehended an Iranian hitman trying to kill him. We know that Iran is trying to do so.
In the United States?
Yes, and by the way, like Iran...
This just seems like a huge headline, and you're acting like everyone knows this. I didn't know that.
Iran put out a whole video about murdering Trump.
Where's this? Okay,
right.
Where's the
hitman?
I've
never heard evidence that there are hitmen in the United States. I mean, trying to kill Trump right now, we should have a nationwide dragnet on this, and we should attack Iran immediately if that's true. Don't you think?
No.
Update, we did.
Oh.
And again, this does not mean that Ted Cruz is right or Tucker Carlson is right. It's a matter of where is the logic. There's a lot of questions. I'm trying to figure this out like everyone else. So people are tuning into things like this to try and get to the bottom of it. But I can tell you that this did not go well for Ted Cruz.
It did not go well for Ted Cruz. Now, I guess, I do watch the Monopoly recaps. I guess hitman's profession proves Iran's plot to assassinate Trump. Okay, so this is the validation for Ted Cruz's original statement, which has came out. So this is something else. Hitman's confession proves Iran's plot to assassinate Trump. This was okay, yeah. So this backs up Ted Cruz's statement. But before, he did look like an idiot here. Now, there was no evidence on the statement, but now or on his statement, but now there is because of Trump's Trump talking about it, but beforehand there wasn't. However, I wouldn't say the idiotic part was that it was the word. I'm not going to use it if I don't know it. But before even getting to the Iranian dispute with the assassination attempts on Trump, which has no evidence to it at the time, right? It was also the misunderstanding of Israel. That's also what played a part, and on top of that, not knowing the exact verses, that's usually a lack of due diligence. It's kind of how people get into identity politics and they don't really think for themselves, so they just automatically assume, okay, Republicans are conservative, that means they're bad, they want to make the rich richer, and Democrats are all pro-gay, pro-life. It's just identity politics in that sense. And people get encapsulated by ideas like that they don't actually put forward into any thought. And I guess you can say Ted Cruz got encapsulated in the idea that Israel was supposed to be defended as an entire place, not looking at it from a philosophical standpoint. You know what I mean?